and welcome back, everybody. I've got Savannah Piazza coming in here live from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Savannah and I go way back. Savannah happens to own a training studio called The Studio out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Savannah is someone I've had a pretty good relationship over the years, someone that's helped me out with some endeavors on Fayhu, and I'm just super excited to get her on as we are both approaching this new endeavor of putting ourselves out there and being super vulnerable. How you doing, Savannah? Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so good. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited for you and like this endeavor that you're doing.
Well, same back at you. So let's start off with the first question. How many clients did you have today before you got on this show?
I've had 5.
You had 5. So before we got on here and started recording, Savannah was being very nice and saying, I don't know how you do 3 interviews today, Shaun, in the regular workflow. So I want to give some of that right back to you. So talk to me, Savannah. I know it's been a little bit since we've caught up. I know you've been really killing the personal training game in Northeast Pennsylvania. Tell me a little bit about what's new in your life. And obviously I want to hop in on the YouTube endeavor. I've been checking out the content. It's not only is it very quality shot, but the information on there is super superb. And I think that's the most important. So
Thank
what are
you.
you doing these days? What have you been up to?
Honestly, it's so much work. And I think that, like, I hate to be one of those people that's like, oh, I've been working. But my mindset has been very business focused recently. And I just have been diving into the world of like this, my passion is fitness, but I feel like I've been taking a lot of time right now to like focus on like the business side that has also been my passion, and diving in through like audiobooks and using all my spare time to just trying to like wrap my brain around like kind of like as we spoke about like marketing, YouTube, how to like gather followers and have crowds actually support you in these things. So that's kind of been it, work, and then like honestly working on what a business even is.
Well, I love that you're saying that too. And I appreciate your humbleness and your authenticity on this, because I think if more people could kind of enter to this conversation, I was very similar, Savannah, right? So
Yeah.
much like yourself, I would say my first business endeavors, whether they were a business or not, was my personal training.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I learned quick was it doesn't just matter if your content is great. It doesn't mean people are going to come to you.
Yeah.
So talk to me about some of those opportunities you've had, maybe just starting off on a brick and mortar personal training, obviously being from a small town in northeastern Pennsylvania. Like,
Yeah.
what did you see? Did anything about starting off in this endeavor with business surprise you? Were there some things that shocked you a little bit at first?
I think honestly, I guess just like how hard it is and how focused you need to be all the time. When it first started out, it was very random. I was working at a gym in Wilkes-Barre. Are you familiar with Vive?
Yep, very
Okay.
familiar.
So I was working at a gym, and this was my second gym only. I had only been in the fitness sphere for like a year, and it randomly came about that me and my partner at the time were able to start working in a different space and like kind of be independent. But we started out with like zero equipment. We had maybe a
Bootstrapping,
couple,
right?
yeah, literally like
Yeah, like the
nothing in this
bootstrap,
room.
ripping it up. Yeah.
Yes, like it was a 400 square foot room, and we had no equipment. We had clients that said we're gonna follow us to this other place because you know how people are with personal trainers, like they just get it. It's not
100%.
really, yeah, it's like it's not constantly just about what you're providing for them via the service. It's more about like who you are and what you give them as a person. So yeah, that's been interesting. But I had a few clients that said like they were gonna come with me, and ended up like one person came with me, and at this time I literally had like $0. Like I did not have a savings at this point in my life. So I think one of the hardest things for starting out was like one, like imposter syndrome. I still
100%. Yeah.
struggle.
Talk to me about that a little bit,
Yeah.
though. Yeah. I think we all
Yeah.
do. And especially going live. I know I'm going through it
Yes.
myself, but
Yes.
so talk to me.
Yeah.
How did you push through that a little bit? And what do you mean? So
Mhm.
I think imposter syndrome is thrown out there so cliche these days,
Yeah.
but like, how were you feeling in those moments? Like, what were
Yeah.
some of the cyclical thoughts you were probably going through in your head as you
Yeah.
were going through that?
I mean, like, I will like say, with my imposter syndrome, it really was like me feeling like I didn't have anything of value to offer, even though deep down I knew what I was talking about, but I didn't think anyone would actually um, really trust me with themselves to like pay me for my service. Like I didn't feel worthy of accepting money, and I didn't think anyone was going to believe in me the way I wanted them to, because I wasn't even believing in myself. So I think, that was really tough. And like having one client and $0, you just, as soon as you would make money off of that one client, you would invest it back in to get more equipment. So I think there was just a constant thing of like, I don't like, no, I think I felt like I deserved it, but I just didn't think anyone else was going to feel that way and actually trust me and want to pay me any sort of money. And that's another thing with business too. Like, I know you could probably relate, like you're asking for a certain price and you think you're going to have to like meet everyone down here because you don't think anyone's going to actually end up paying you the price that you're asking for.
I want to ask you a really specific question because I came from the same area, and yes, I resonate with everything you're saying. I think
Yeah.
every person that starts a business, we hope that our internal network is going to be was going to catapult us to the
Yeah.
highest of high, the high
Yeah.
mountain peaks.
Yeah.
But what I tend to find, and I think I'm kind of hearing you say this as well, is it usually you got to put yourself out there a little bit. So if,
Yeah.
I heard you say that you're really good at building relationships. I would say that
Yeah.
any business is about building relationships. So you had a good endeavor going on. You were taking a chance to go to the next, to the studio
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Kind of went back to zero and
Mhm.
oh crap, the world is closing in on Savannah. So what
Yeah.
did you do from there? I mean, because I really want to pull this story out because I know I've known you so personally, and
Yeah.
I think none of us that are kind of going through this give ourselves enough credit. I'm
Yeah.
assuming you built a lot of confidence from kind of being at that point of like, you had to make
Yeah.
a decision there of like, okay, here I am. I have a low value proposition or maybe a high value
Yeah.
proposition. I don't know how to meet these in between. What did you do
Yeah.
with that information to get you to where you are today?
So, I mean, even like the proposition part is like, I would love to dive more into that. But I think what really happened at the beginning of this is though I was feeling like an immense sense of imposter syndrome, I was also working off faith that I had established within myself from like 2 years prior. Like, I really took a time in my life to like, to form a better relationship with myself and honestly like gain trust. Like, when you're young, you say all these things to yourself, like you're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then you end up breaking those promises because you just don't follow through or whatever it is. But I started like doing everything with more intention and I started keeping promises to myself. So by the time that we got to a point where we had a business and I had zero money, but I just had a feeling like I was like, I know that I will not let this fail. So I think I just kind of had to keep reiterating that to myself. There was nothing anyone else could tell me at that point that was going to help me. It was really just like I was relying on the trust that I had built with myself, knowing that I really wouldn't let this not work out. And I think this is something like, I'm not sure if you even know this about this, like my story with this, but for anyone listening, I went into this with a partner who was my boyfriend at the time. And, that ended up falling through as
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
they
I
do.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're, if someone's listening to this and they're in that same position, I wouldn't say it's the worst thing ever because it led me to such a great place. I'm not sure if I would even have a business if I hadn't had that partner at the time. But there was a point in the business where I was doing kind of like, I guess, like the more of a manager role, and he was doing a lot of the creative stuff. So when that split apart, I again went through these feelings of being like, oh my God, like I'm not creative. How am I going to post myself? How am I going to make content? How am I going to put myself out there? Even just making like a business card felt almost impossible. But I realized that you have all these things inside of you. It's just sometimes there's things in your life that are suppressing it, either another person or it could be yourself, like your lack of confidence. So when that happened, my world really crashed in, and then I had to take charge and just start doing it. Like I think the motivation came from doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it safe to say too? So when your partner left, like
Yeah.
both relationship and business, and
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
been there before too. We've talked about it
Yeah.
on the show, but
Yeah.
I think did that expose some gaps to you, right? Like you might have been aware of them
Yeah.
first, because kind of what I'm hearing you say is, and I've been through this, but I like to help extrapolate on those emotions for people as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I can say myself, I've got my strengths and I've got my opportunities, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously, the old adage, you want to lean on your strengths and delegate your
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, so you
Mm-hmm.
get better that way. But I also know when it comes down to brass tacks, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. So I know
Mm-hmm.
how passionate you are about helping people in fitness. But I
Yeah.
think, did you notice those gaps of like, okay, no one's here that's creative right now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
either I'm going to do it or nobody's going to do it. Is that kind of the
Oh,
conclusion you
yeah.
came to?
100%. And like, I think, even with the YouTube thing and just, growing your business in general, you kind of take a step back I think looking at myself, all the things that I thought were my weaknesses, were the things that I really needed to double down on, like even like exploring the world more
Yeah.
of business
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, like
Mhm.
having all those insecurities of like I really, really felt I'm like, I'm not creative. Like if someone asked me to draw a picture, I felt like I couldn't even draw them a picture because nothing would come to mind.
Well, there's so
And,
many ways of being creative, and I think you've learned that now too, right? I mean, because
definitely,
I
yeah.
look at your videos, Savannah, and there's no way I say that you're not creative. Like
Yeah.
nothing about you would say uncreative. But I think this is, and you, our story is so similar, and I've known you for a
Yeah.
while, but we've never had this kind of conversation. And I think so. The number one opportunity I saw with myself, specifically with Fahey, was I also had a massive gap in marketing.
Hmm.
And as good as I was at selling certain things, other things I
Hmm.
just, like, for whatever reason it was, didn't want to talk about it. People have been telling me
Yeah.
to do a podcast for 10
Yeah.
years. I mean,
Yeah.
I think since you were still in high school, people were saying
Yeah.
this for back home. For whatever reason, what it took, but it was definitely imposter belief in myself. Um,
Yeah.
so as you're kind of growing this, like, and I want to hop in on that a little bit. So
Hmm.
someone that got into business, and I don't
Hmm.
think I asked you this. Why did you get into fitness specifically? I don't want
Yeah.
to answer this for people because I want it to be your voice, but why
Yeah.
fitness? Why Savannah? Why fitness?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly interesting. I think it's perfect that your like podcast is named like Taking Chances. Because at this point, like I had graduated college and I've always been in fitness and just you like really used it as an outlet for myself. But
Mhm.
I never thought it would be a career because looking back, like when you were years ago before social media was really popping off, like a personal trainer job seemed like a deadbeat job. Like it seemed like the job
100%.
that,
Yes.
yeah,
I have
like
seen
the
that transition my whole life from like not
yeah,
a sexy job at all to like, oh my God,
no,
you're a fitness influencer. I'm like,
yeah,
I wish it was
yes.
that cool when I was younger too. But
No, yeah, and it wasn't, and it really didn't, it wasn't really cool until I was like graduating college and I had been applying to jobs. I got a really good offer from a great company, but it was like lab work. Like I was going to be sitting at a desk and I would have to move to New Jersey. I was in Philly at this time and I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't feel like my time in Philly is up yet. Like I had a really emotional connection to that city. And
yep.
what I was like, I said was I was like, I'm going to give it 1 month. I'm going to try to find a personal training job somewhere and I'm going to try to make this work because fitness had been such a big part of my life for almost like 8 years at this point. And I was like getting attention for it. Like people knew me as someone who was in fitness. But so I was like, I'll just give it 1 month. We'll see what happens. So I turned down that offer. That was my only offer. And it was like a job that I would have been making almost six figures at for someone out of college, like that's a pretty
Great. Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great job. Like,
So you really took a chance on yourself. You're like, here's this
yeah,
six-figure job that I don't
yeah,
really see myself being fulfilled in. And I've
yeah,
got this itch I haven't scratched and I don't know why it itches me so much, but I'm going to go
yeah.
see if I can take care of this for 30 days.
Yes, literally.
How
So
that,
within like to answer, because I think you're gonna ask how it went. Like within a
yeah,
week, I had someone reach
100%.
out on Instagram, like a manager at the gym I was working at, and he's like, literally, he's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about being a coach?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like it was literally like I don't want to say like maybe it was perfect timing, maybe it was like fate in some way for myself. But I literally responded back to him. I had one or two interviews, and then within a month, I was like taking clients, and it was, I kid you not, the best personal training job that I could have ever had at first because they gave you so much education. You weren't on your own at all. And I
That's
learned,
amazing.
yes, it was so fantastic. And I have nothing but nice things to say about the company. But yeah, I learned so much. And I think that's why I was able to go off on my own within a year because of the education I learned at that job. I think without it, you know, most gyms, you could definitely speak more on this, but most times you go to a gym and they're just like, do your thing. Like they don't teach you
Exactly. And
anything.
did that help build you a little bit of confidence? And I know you're in a new
Yeah.
endeavor, and I'm eventually going to
Yeah.
tie all these questions together.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
to drill you a little bit today.
Yeah.
Did that build a little bit of confidence in you though, of like, and I don't mean just the
Yeah.
training and the education they gave you, but
Mhm.
just having that notion inside of you, like I'm
Yeah.
connected to Philadelphia. I don't know why. I'm
Yeah.
going to stay here and just because my intuition's telling me to in that place.
Yeah.
Did that kind of build any kind of forward thought and confidence of like continuing to take chances because that one didn't play
Yeah.
out bad for you?
That's a really great question. I honestly had never like thought much about it, but I think in the long run, yes. You know, I said like I took like a year or two to really build a relationship with myself, and this was
I love
kind of
that.
at the tail end of this. Like, yeah, like you know, I'm just in college. I'm a freaking mess. Like I'm just a mess. I have no
Every
relationship with myself. Everyone, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Um, there's just zero trust, and there was not a lot of faith. I had a lot of negative thoughts all the time. So this was at the tail end of that relationship building phase for myself, and I think that was like the first time that like I really saw like in a big way it come into fruition for me. So yeah, I think you're right on there. Yeah, it really changed probably the course of my whole life, honestly.
It's a funny thing, and I've been doing this since watching the Steve Jobs commencement speech from
Yeah,
Stanford in 2013.
so
And I don't know if
good, so good.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. But the thing that's always resonated with me, and I've tried to take information from that speech and impact
Hmm.
my life now of reflecting
Hmm.
back. So often I'll try to go back to like, what was I thinking at that moment and why did I make
Hmm.
this decision? And
Yeah.
in the process of exploring my own mindset throughout the past, I've usually
Hmm.
built a better relationship with Shaun in the present. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is like, I know for me, just like in fitness, this is one of the things
Hmm.
I love about the foundation of fitness, martial
Hmm.
arts, and kind of athletics. It
Yeah.
gives you a very systemized tool set of
Hmm.
tracking something that takes much longer than what you can see in the mind, right? So if I
Yeah.
and I don't even know how if I've ever talked about this in taking chances. I
Yeah.
was 290 pounds at one time in my life. I'm 150
Yeah.
pounds now, but
I know, so
me
crazy.
pushing it is, but I think what it did for me was like it wasn't even that crazy. It was just more of like
Hmm.
trust the system, trust
Hmm.
yourself
Hmm.
for a year. Well, first trust yourself for a
Yeah.
couple of days, then trust yourself
Yeah.
for a week, and then
Yeah.
just really dive into that. And I think what
Hmm.
that helps me do is I take that same application to
Hmm.
business or any other endeavor. It's like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
I want to go from 1 million to 10 million. That's going to be hard.
Hmm.
Well, let's take this very specific steps and procedures of how to get there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So with you on that because I think that's why I love fitness so much. I think it has done the same thing for me is like all the lessons that you learn through your fitness journey transcend into so many like literally every other aspect of your
every
life.
aspect.
Yeah, everything. You
Yeah.
could anything I could think of, and I totally agree. I think like before like trusting the process, I'm pretty sure that's like an Eagles thing like became big.
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah.
like what my foundation was built off of. Just like I think just like trusting myself and understanding that like my process is going to look really messed up to other people, but for me, as long
But
as
it's
I'm
your
going
process.
like yes, exactly. And it's
I love it.
there's so many like back and forths with it and I think that's what my business has been like so much back and forth. I mean, you probably have experienced that yourself like you're at such a high and you're doing so well like either like income wise or you're gaining a lot of clients or a reputation whatever it is and then suddenly you experience your first low and
Mhm.
it literally feels like your whole entire
Riding the
world is
waves.
ending. Yes, like just I just feeling so scared. I remember like my first slow season like right around like November December and just feeling so scared and lost and like I just messed everything up and threw it away, and then within a month you're right, you're going back up with it and you're like, oh, trust the process, like keep doing exactly what you're doing even when it feels like it's not working.
Well, and I think now too, and I'm curious to hop into this. So I
Mm-hmm.
think you've trusted the process, but now it sounds like you're really starting to step outside that comfort zone. And this is what I want to
Yes.
hop into. So
Yeah.
what are some of the things you're doing now to really grow the small business? And I really would
Yeah.
love to kind of keep the same tone. Talk to me about YouTube. Because number one,
Mm-hmm.
your YouTube videos, I know you very well, but as soon as I saw
Mm-hmm.
your video, I was like, I can learn so much from Savannah right now.
Oh
So just so
yeah,
you know, like I was
thanks.
talking to my fiance and I'm like,
Yeah.
we need our videos to look like that. Let's get her on the
Yeah.
show. And again, I
Yeah.
told you I've had some podcast good success.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking at our YouTube channel yet. So talk to me
Yeah.
about how this girl who got into fitness, who had a little bit of an imposter belief, who
Yeah.
was kind of starting to trust the process. What made you be so bold to step out there and how is
Yeah.
that going? And then maybe talk to me about other strategies besides YouTube as well. But I'm
Yeah.
definitely curious about this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, as we kind of mentioned, like YouTube, I had never seen YouTube as like a viable source of income and exposure before. Um, and I had a conversation with someone who was like now my boyfriend at the time, and I was seeking advice from him. And I was like, hey, like I don't know where to go right now. Like I feel very stuck in my business, and that the word stuck just kind of kept coming up. And
Yeah.
he's like, listen, like he's like, what you need to do is you need to gain attention through YouTube, or he's like through anything, through any kind of platform, but he sees YouTube as such a viable way to do that. And he's like, you need to
I would
gain
agree.
attention. Yeah, I see it now. I did not before, because you go on YouTube and you're watching videos of people and you see all their views and you're like, first off, just even them talking on the camera, it feels near impossible for most of us to do. But on top of that, it's like you're like, maybe I would get like 3 subscribers, including my mom, but you never actually see yourself being someone who has
I
hundreds
think
of
those are my
thousands of
first.
followers.
Yeah,
Your
those are
first,
my first 3 subscribers. Just so you know, I had to throw that in there so people could laugh. Like
yeah, like
my mom, my
it's a
aunt,
real
and
thing.
my fiance. Yeah, so I'm like, we're crushing it in YouTube right now.
My mom
But
doesn't even follow me, so I don't
I'm
even
not
have
surprised.
her.
I love your mom.
Yeah, yeah, and she's
I'm
like,
sure Elise does though. I'm sure Elise definitely follows you.
no, no, not
Oh,
even her.
no,
Yeah,
I know.
no,
Oh,
my
you can get
family is
anybody in the gym
very.
besides her. Talk to me about that though.
No, that's so true. No, you're right, because she doesn't go yet. But yeah, no, like I just didn't, I never thought there was like an actual path. And then I started being exposed to more videos of there's like a whole community of YouTube people out there that are talking to people who want to be YouTube, like
Mhm.
influencers, I guess you could say.
Who
Um,
are some of the folks? Not to interrupt you, but who are some of the
yeah,
folks? Because I want to ask you this when you said it earlier. Who are some
yeah,
of the folks that are influencing you right now? Is there anyone that you're going to
yeah,
kind of consistently, either for free information, or who are some folks that
yeah.
you gained some confidence from?
Yeah, so I guess like in terms of like YouTube creation, so I didn't even have like my own YouTube profile, so I'm actually very happy about that. So when I created my YouTube channel, I started following all these different people, and so now my YouTube is geared towards that. So I get content
Education.
that actually, yes, it's like all educational and it's content that means something to me, which I'm very happy about. But um I mean, in full transparency, like my boyfriend now has helped me so much because he is on YouTube, and he is really the one who laid down my foundation of like how to use Premiere Pro to edit, what camera I should start out with, like just different things like that, how to make my videos look better than just like iPhone quality essentially.
Yep. Yep.
But in terms of like pages, I could think of two right now. I think there's vidIQ. I
Okay.
believe that's one. And then let's see. I think there's I will send you a list if you want to put these like in your podcast notes. But
Yeah, we'll share them down below. I
yeah.
just think it's good for one of the things I'm trying to do too is I think it's a great world we live in right now. There's so much
Hmm.
information. I
Yeah.
would say 80 to 90% of it's crap. And
Yeah.
I like to help people kind of sort through the noise. So
Oh
again,
yeah.
one of the gentlemen I've been following, and there's some mixed reviews out there, but
Hmm.
Alex Famazzi is just
Oh
someone that
yeah.
really he kind of like I just watched a couple of his videos and
Yeah.
Savannah, I felt the same way of what you're saying. For
Yeah.
the longest time, I knew I had value. I mean,
Yeah.
I was a multi-unit operator, as a senior VP.
Hmm.
I was controlling like 150 million in revenue, 2,500
Yes.
employees. I was terrified to talk about what I was doing though, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now you would see me in fitness, and it was almost because I wasn't as insecure about fitness as I was about
Hmm.
business. And I think
Yeah.
so kind of going back to that, reflecting back on
Yeah.
my past thoughts, I think I ran away from it so much. And
Hmm.
honestly, what's helped me was I started climbing, and then
Yeah.
when I started skydiving. So after, because I am deathly afraid of heights in Savannah. And like
Yeah.
it might seem
Yeah.
weird now because I love climbing and skydiving, but after I basically was like, what is the craziest thing that I would never do? Throw myself
Hmm.
out of a fucking plane.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me go
Yeah.
do but after I've done those kind of endeavors, now, and at least for me, and I'm not encouraging everyone to go jump out of a plane to go open a business. I'm not saying this was a very
It's
to
a
Savannah's point.
necessity.
Yeah, this was Sean Coe's story.
Yeah.
But after that, and I had just faced like a lot of skydivers are going to hate me saying this, and I'm
Hmm.
not the average skydiver. For me,
Yeah.
when I got into that endeavor, it was me facing my fear at such a
Hmm.
level that every time I got into that plane
Yeah.
for the first 50 jumps, I knew I was going to die. Now that's
Yeah.
not true. I'm more likely to
Yeah.
get hit by a car driving to there. But
Yeah.
it was scary as shit for me, but
Yeah.
after kind of embracing that and jumping out, I had no fear left, but I still wasn't going
Hmm.
live. And then it was
Yeah.
Alex's video I saw probably about 7 months ago. And he's like, look,
Hmm.
I never really wanted to be famous. I knew I had a lot of good
Hmm.
content that I could talk about,
Hmm.
but I knew if I wanted to get to the level that I knew I could, I had to
Yeah.
put information out there. And I kind of
Yeah.
think that's what your boyfriend was encouraging you as well. And I
Yeah.
think he's super sharp. I think
Yeah.
all content getting out there. So for myself, and I'm curious to hear how these results are working for you.
Yeah.
Since I have started posting on LinkedIn consistently, it's less about
Hmm.
the likes, it's less about the engagement. We
Yeah.
have signed probably in 6 months about 42 clients organically from people
Yeah.
engaging with my
Yeah.
content that I would
Hmm.
not have normally known. And they
Yeah.
were already in my pipeline. And to me, what sparks this, and I really want to hone on this with you, is like
Yeah.
when I first started my first business, I thought I could launch this off of my network because I thought my
Hmm.
closest friends would support me.
No.
And as much as
No.
my friends supported me, I just
Yeah.
think you always have that little bit of their imposter belief in your friend circle of like, I
Yeah.
like that Savannah's doing good or Sean, but I don't want
Yeah.
you to do that good. So, I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
did you see
Like
any
I
of that
don't
kind of in your endeavors?
Yeah, it's really challenging because I think it's partly some of that, and I think we all feel that way. Like, do you want genuinely what's best for someone else? Yes, but in the back of your mind, I think there's just jealousy in all of us. I don't want to claim that your friends were jealous or like anyone's friends are jealous, but I just think there's this little piece of all of us that like we want to be on top, which is it's normal. It's
Mhm.
competition, but I
The
think
competitive
also
nature
like
of America.
yeah, for sure. And I think that's a good thing. But I think also when it comes to the friend thing, it's like um, I think strangers are just much more likely to support you. And I don't know if it's
Mhm.
because they have none of your background, they don't know anything else about you, but it's like, I have like friends' parents who do nutrition with somebody else when they could do it with me. But I think in the back of their mind, they're like, oh, I know her. It's like almost like maybe I know her as a little girl. Like I don't trust
You're
her
still a
with
little
this. Like
Savannah. I was just gonna say,
yeah,
yeah.
maybe it's what they see in their brain of you or this idea, but when you meet a stranger and they come in, you're allowed to kind of you're allowed to show them the new version of you and who you are and like what you could offer to them. I think for sometimes your friends, I think it's a little bit harder for them to see the value in you that way. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It makes perfect I think that's
yeah.
one of the most intelligent things I've ever heard say, Savannah.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, it's not because it's not always nefarious, and I find
Yeah.
myself at times too. The older I've gotten, the more I accept my core friend group for who they are, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I think I used to be
100%.
way more judgmental and like I
Yeah.
know that some of my friends are going to support me to the best of their ability. My family
Yeah.
has always supported my endeavors, but they've never
Yeah.
really understood it. So I've always resonated when
Yes.
Gary Vee said that of like
Yeah.
the first thing I try to do when I'm coaching young entrepreneurs is like you had better be involved with something that you're so wildly passionate about, just like you
Yeah.
said, because at the end of the day, nobody
Hmm.
is going to support you at the
No.
level it's going to take to be successful. They might
No.
support you from afar. Savannah, we hope you rock it
Yeah.
out today.
Yeah.
But if you're really going to do the devil in the details and kind of
Yeah.
be in the trenches, you got to love what you do. So,
Yeah, I think it's even more than that. I think for me, it's like you really have to be your own biggest supporter because I think at the end of the day, like no one believes in you the way that you might believe in yourself. Again, it's like I have that same thing with my own family and my parents. I think that they still have understanding of what I actually do or what it entails. So even times where my mom will be like, "Oh, how's business?" Like, especially when it's like at a low period, if I'm not feeling good about something, I kind of just tell her it's good, and then I kind of handle it on my own because I'm like, first off, like, what is stressing anyone else out gonna do for me, or like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of crying about it when my back's up against the wall, I'm someone who like doubles down. But also, I just don't think they understand. I think that's really it. I think it's just a lack of understanding.
I think it's two important things that you said there. So the
Yeah.
first question I have for you is, and I'm assuming it's your boyfriend now who's also in business, but
Hmm.
do you have someone you can lean into for when times
Yeah.
get stressful? That's in business. So you do
Yeah.
have a group around you. So I can say
Yeah.
for myself,
No, honestly, no, I don't. I
oh, you
don't.
don't, you
No,
don't.
it's
Okay.
it's
Well,
really only I would say it's my significant other, and I'm very thankful for that. I think until you have if you had a circle of people who are like entrepreneurs and doing that, I think maybe you could then say you have like a small group of people who understand. But I don't think anyone understands because in my mind, like before I started this, I had no idea how hard I was going to have to work to actually see anything be built. Like
well,
it's you know what I mean? It's so much more than you
100%.
ever
I
think it's
mean,
going to be.
well, and I always laugh too, just speaking about Alex Famazzi. Like
Mhm.
everyone is celebrating now because he blew up in 6 months. Nobody
Yeah.
really blows up in 6 months. You see the end
He
results of a lot
didn't.
of effort.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
Gary Vee had wine library at 60 million before anybody
Yeah.
knew his name. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
he wasn't making content, just no one knew
Yeah.
yet. So I think
Yeah.
it always seems like, oh, this person just appeared. Well, you
Yeah.
didn't see all like the
Yeah.
begging and crying and the
It's
kicking and screaming.
funny to 100%, and it's funny like two examples for me that actually like really motivate me is like one like Alex Ramosi, like I actually when I worked at the gym before I went out on my own, we were using Gym Launch. So I had seen
Okay.
him on videos and I didn't at the time I honestly didn't like him or I didn't appreciate him very much. I wasn't really
I've
sure
been
what
through
he
there.
was getting
Yeah.
at. Yeah. But now that I've read his book, $100 Million Offer, and like I've been listening to so many more podcasts from him, I'm like, this man, like he's driven like no other. Him and Layla, their
Mhm.
drive is insane. Like
It's
I
powerful.
very powerful. And then I also think about the Barstool story. If you're familiar with this, is like Barstool, their first, I think like football
I
party
was
that they threw,
I
there
was
was like two
at the
people.
I was at the I'm this old just to pick on myself. I was at some of the first bar stool parties that were ever thrown in New Jersey,
Really?
and in Pennsylvania when they were coming up. Yeah, I remember when
Yeah.
those they were like this small little blog that no one like
Yeah.
really.
No one
We used
knew.
to talk shit on them when they were coming out. It was like because
Yeah.
it was. I think I was either a senior in high school, or like my freshman year in college. I mean, it was
Yeah.
years ago. I'm aging
Yeah.
myself, but at the time they came out too, they weren't that popular, but they just stuck
No.
with it in consistency. And now
Yes.
look where they are today.
And I think about this too, like this is something that's always stood out to me is like I think the situation with Barstool is like when Twitter came out, Twitter really started to propel them because of the information that can get out so quickly and how they could share their info. So I always think to myself, I'm like, because I haven't hit it big yet, you never know what platform or what thing's going to come in 10 years that might be the exact thing that you need. Do you know what I mean? Like, in that way, like
Mhm.
if something new, like a new platform came out and I was one of the first people to jump on it, that's how a lot of people have found success with YouTube and Instagram because they were willing to take the risk, jump
Right
on it.
time, right spot.
Right time, exactly, timing, yeah.
I'm going to challenge you on this right now because I've seen your
Hmm.
content. If you stay consistent, it doesn't matter if YouTube's been out for 10 years. If you stay
Yeah.
consistent with what you're doing today, you will get far past where you think you're able to get. I promise you
Yeah.
that. And I mean that
I
from the bottom of my heart, Savannah. I've known you
Thank
for many
you.
years. I think you've got your content is fire. And what I
Thank
mean by that is
you.
I'm a trainer. So I call out bullshit all the time. And I think
Yeah.
most of the time I'm giving you like a high five on Instagram is because I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
someone's saying something
Yeah.
that's real. Because
Yeah.
again, right now, I mean, we've got the US government telling people that cereal is at the bottom of the food pyramid. It's better
Yeah,
than
yeah, yeah.
protein now.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think if we there's a lot of people out there who are so influential and it scares
Mhm.
me right now because I'm someone who
Mhm.
was morbidly obese when I got hurt playing football and I went
Mhm.
from that to a fitness model and
Yeah.
it took me 6 years, but if we're going to start
Yeah.
telling the youth of the nation that you can't change your body, I
Yeah.
think that impacts way more than fitness, and that's a
Yeah.
very dangerous slippery slope for me to that I
Yeah.
think we're starting to endeavor. Let
Like
me ask you if go ahead, sorry.
no, 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 go ahead. I think you're kind of getting onto like the body positivity kind of thing, like kind of saying like maybe it's not good to change in a way.
So what I'm saying with that is I think and this is my perspective and I
Mhm.
just talked to I don't think you've ever met Jay Raddick, but the Bellator fighter,
No.
very similar background to yours.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
helped us out with some Fahey stuff.
I remember him.
And
Yeah.
what one of the reasons he's launching his stuff right now too is and I kind of have the same fear, but I'm less into fitness. I
Mhm.
think we're coaching people as a nation right now to potentially be weak. And what I mean by that is
Yeah.
like if you don't like your circumstances, someone else is going to come save. If you
Yeah.
were born out of
Mhm.
shape. So again,
Yeah.
we should never body shame someone. There's nothing I hate more
No.
than January and how people treat themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But on the counter side of that, there's nothing
Mhm.
that I loathe more than someone that wasn't a fitness trainer or a
Mhm.
nutritionist but got into a very unsustainable diet. They
Yes,
lost
yeah.
a bunch of weight, and you probably know
Yeah.
the kind of people I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah, all the
And
time.
then they fall apart, and now they're celebrating that because they weren't consistent. So when I see your content,
Yeah.
like I know that if someone was to follow that, they're going to have
Mhm.
the results they want. Because I think
Yeah.
so many people approach fitness as this magical scenario that no one has figured
Yeah.
out. Calories in, calories out, stay
Yeah.
consistent, lift some
Yeah.
heavy weights. But the
Yeah.
problem most people have is consistency. I want to hone in on a couple things before we run out of too much time.
Mhm.
How has the YouTube endeavor been taken off for you? Because I'm
Yeah.
really impressed for the amount of videos you have to subscribers. But
Yeah.
what is your feedback been from you launching this? Because I need
Yeah.
some encouragement for myself right now too.
Yeah. It's actually so funny. Like I the first couple videos I put out did so well. Like I was expecting like 50 views. Some of them got like like, almost 9,000 views or over 3,000 views and I was not expecting that at all, but I think promoting it on Facebook and on my YouTube and on my Instagram channel did help me a bit, but I think
You can carry it a little bit.
yeah, but I have done a lot of research. Honestly, 6 or 7 months ago is when someone told me I should start a YouTube channel. It took me 7 months to gather enough information
Enough
about
information to get going.
thumbnails. Yeah, like, I'm really diving into this now, but about thumbnails, about titles, having the right software to make things look presentable and not only presentable, but there's so much software out there
Oh
that
my
just
God. Tell me
elevates
about it.
your game. Yeah, like a lot of AI. I'm using AI now to help me with titles and scripts and making things more appealing. Um,
Tons.
yeah, so it really took me like I would say 7 months or so to actually feel like I had enough information to then go and make my first video. And that was honestly like that was some I have like a little journal based like a planner that I use and I double it down as a journal and it was like everything that I have to do to make this channel grow is going to be the one thing that I don't want to do, because I don't like
Everything.
everything. I don't like speaking in front of other
Like, oh
people.
man.
I don't feel like anything I say sometimes is holds a lot of value, which I know that's not true, but it's really hard to fight past those initial thoughts
The
of
inner
like,
monologue, right?
yes, the inner monologue of like, does anyone care? Am I you're also fighting a lot of like, not like the fact checkers, but you're thinking in your head about the people that are going to come at you and say, oh, this is wrong, blah blah blah, and like, and kind of fight you on that, and you're already thinking about those things as you're making your videos or you're writing your script. So I had to fight a lot of that, but I knew that if I could get through that, that there was going to be a lot of gold on the other side.
Yeah. Like the lights
um
at the end of the tunnel. It's worth
yeah,
walking through the darkness to grab it. I understand it.
100%. Yeah. And I think, we kind of already spoke about this, but like the things you want to do the least are the things that are the most triggering, I think, are the
Same
things that
thing
you
in the
have
gym,
to
right?
do. Yes, 100%. Even, I was in the gym the other day and I thought, holy shit. I'm like, the people that even came here today that are feeling super insecure and this is like their first time in the gym, or maybe it's been a year and they're still insecure, that takes so much courage
Courage.
to
It
even
does.
leave your house and do that. So I was thinking about that, and I'm like, damn, like, we're all just trying to push our limits all the time. And I don't know. I think that was a big thing for me, just understanding that like anything good that I want is on the other side of this barrier that I'm trying to fight.
I
And
feel
honestly,
you.
with
It's
the
a
with the subscriber thing, I put out a video and it happened to go viral. And it's at like 4 million plus views now, and that is truly one of the reasons that I have as many subscribers as I do. But it's funny, just because having Instagram and trying on that platform for so long, never had a video go viral. Did it on YouTube and it worked.
Well, I'm curious about this too, because I think
Mhm.
this is a bold statement. I think Meta's never going to die, but personally, if I never gave $1 in advertisement to Facebook or Instagram, it'd be a great day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the short form communication on Instagram is just, I don't really, it seems just like an advertising bot right now. Like I talk to
Yeah.
younger kids. I don't think the generation behind us is getting on Instagram as much. And I
Yeah.
think there's something about the YouTube to have the long form communication to really resonate with who
Yeah.
you are. I'm curious to ask this though. Was the
Mhm.
viral video a shorts? Like, because I see that your shorts
Yeah.
seem to be carrying quite a bit of traction. And I know that's
Yeah.
more of like the 15-second attention.
Yeah, it's actually funny. So like, I guess like going back to your first point, I think the reason why YouTube is such a great platform is because it is a search engine. So if you put
Hmm.
out something that has relevance for, even if it doesn't feel that relevant at the time, it might be relevant in 10 years. You have no, like, we never know what's going to come about again. TikTok has shown that like trend things that died in the 90s are now coming back bigger than
It's
ever.
crazy.
So I
Yeah.
think that's why YouTube is so great. It's a search engine. So on Instagram, you have something, it's there and gone within 24 hours. YouTube, it's evergreen. But it was a short that went viral. It was kind of, I guess, like a more controversial one. It I did not have any intention of it going viral. I didn't think it ever would, but for some reason it
It's
took
just one
off.
of those videos. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The ones I get, and it's so weird. Like the content I put so much effort into,
Yes.
sometimes you'll get like 20 or 30, and then something I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even know why I'm throwing this out there. And it's like, how did that happen? So
Yeah,
something
it
similar
was
for you?
literally, yeah, it was literally something that I randomly was like, just felt like I was noticing a trend with something. And it took me 5 minutes to make the video. It was just one of those things that you have the green screen and you're talking over it.
Yeah,
And I posted it on Instagram. It was like a pretty positive response, but I didn't have like a ton of views on it. And I posted the
gotcha.
same exact thing on Shorts on YouTube, and it literally just blew up. Both negative and positive comments on it, which I think,
Comes to
it,
be
it kind
expected, right?
yeah, it was a little hard at first. Like the first week that had been happening, I really was feeling a little like a little down, just because I had never experienced negative comments before.
Everybody
But then
comes at you.
yeah, and then I realized like, it's completely normal. It doesn't matter. It's pushing the video forward, honestly. But yeah, I think what's really important, not to cut you off, I'm so sorry, but
No, no,
if
no. You're
you're
good.
with your own YouTube journey, I think because YouTube is pushing shorts right now, because they want to kind of rival Instagram and TikTok, shorts, I think you have a more likely chance of kind of having a short blow up or get more views than something on Instagram.
So for a new brand, maybe if they're looking to get some good content out there, kind of
Yeah.
having the full book strategy. You said
Hmm.
so many good statements. I don't even know where to hop in. I'll say this. It took us also very similar 7
Yeah.
months before we started recording the first podcast, and we
Yeah.
were doing the same thing. And now I hired a PR company because the hardest
Hmm.
thing for me, Savannah, when I started doing this is my background was so compartmentalized. So I was a restaurant
Yeah.
operator. I was very good at that. I owned some side businesses.
Yeah.
And similar to imposter belief, but for the longest time of my life, I had to like box portions of Shaun together
Yeah.
and kind of hide them from other people. And
Hmm.
the strangest thing is 3 to 5 years of being in my own business, I still had a lot of those habits. And when I was trying
Hmm.
to just go back and like tell the full story, like how do I say that I have a
Yeah.
supplement brand and human capital resource and I coach
Yeah.
entrepreneurs? And what I realized was that was just a story I was telling myself too.
Yeah.
So like the whole
Yeah.
reason I wasn't was really just insecurity speaking to me of
Hmm.
like, you're going to fail if you do this. And I was
Yeah.
listening to it.
Yeah.
So I think, getting that encouragement and stepping out helps everybody.
Yeah.
So look, Savannah, I definitely want to have you back on. I think I could talk to you for hours about this.
Yeah.
Drop some of your socials. We're going to give links to everything. But so right
Hmm.
now, if someone wants to get a hold of you, are you doing mostly in-person training? So at the studio, is that the best way for someone to get access to you?
Yes, I mean, in person is great right now. I have an Instagram. It's at Sweet and Sweaty Savvy. So you could also follow me on there and just DM me. I'm really good at getting back to people. And then also my YouTube is under Savannah Piazza. So you could always shoot me a comment on there, something along those lines. But shooting me a message on Instagram is probably the best way to get at me. And I do virtual as well. So
Awesome. And you got some good
yeah,
packages coming out too, I think, right? Not ready to talk
yeah,
about them yet, but stay tuned on the
yeah,
YouTube channel for some good free content and a good way to get
yes,
access if you're not in Northeast Pennsylvania. So
yes,
I thank
100%.
you. I thank you for being on, Savannah. It's been such a great
Hmm.
conversation. Looking forward to having you back. And I'm going
Hmm.
to really be celebrating those YouTube videos. I think the next time you come on, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'll try to do it in a month. I bet you're at 10 to 15,000 subscribers. So we'll see where we're at. But thanks for
I,
being on.
I hope so. Thank you so much.
You're definitely going to be. Talk to you soon.